It is time for the mother of them all, Crayola. Now, I had to go back and forth on whether this was even going to be a set I would cover. And I just feel like it's going to make this pencil appreciation video a little different, because it's kind of like telling someone the proper way to shower or to eat. At this point in the game, everybody here knows about Crayola. So, what can I really say about these that are new? And the truth is, I can't really say anything new, but what I can do is talk to I would imagine the handful of you who haven't actually messed with these in a while. And I think because I was doing several pictures, all in different brands, and I hadn't used these before that in decades. I had not a need to use Crayola. I'm sure the last time I used these, on that level was probably back in high school or junior high, coloring a map for school. So this was definitely that moment where I got to revisit, have that Ratatouille flashback moment and feel this pencil that I haven't messed with in years. And I had already, I went out and had bought the 100 set. And I'm not sure why I thought that was the largest set. Since I started doing these videos, I know a lot of people, and understandably so, a lot of people, they get smaller sets because they're more affordable, and what they're really doing is they're testing the colors, and they don't see the need to break the bank to get the 120 set when they could turn around and get a 12 set or a much lower set to try them out. With me, it's not just about the performance of the pencil and all of the attributes. A big part of it to me is about the color palette. It is about saying, what do these pencils offer as a whole? So this was another case where I wanted the large set. And what I didn't know, the back of it has introducing 6 brand new colors. So this actually had 50 colors more than what was in my other basic set, but this has 6 new colors, and then it has the colors of the world. So it's all basically skin tone, earth tones, and it has the color of the eyes and whatnot. So one of the things, little things that I noticed that I thought was nice is this top part here. To jump into this, these pencils, I'm pretty sure are accurate with the setup in the box. It's a very small thing. It was just one of those things I stumbled upon. I kept on looking at it thinking, wait a minute, they lined these colors up. So I was looking at it and I just thought that was a cool little touch. It won't do anybody any good. It's not, but it's those things that we look for in a pencil set that let us know that somebody cares a little bit more. So as far as, talking about Crayola, what is there to say? What is there to really say about, the way they perform? I think most of us know. So the things I could talk about is, I believe this is one of the cheapest sets you can get. This is our starter set. This is the sets that we color with when we're kids, and we're not afraid to sharpen the pencil constantly, which I found myself doing, by the way. We find ourselves sharpening these pencils because it's not a big deal. We don't even need open stock, because if we run low on X amount of pencils, we'll just go buy another set. But the funny thing is, I found that this isn't the cheapest set that I have. I had assumed that getting Crayola would be pretty much the bottom of the food chain as far as pencil attributes go, and it's not. In fact, I've already covered some pencils that are less quality than these, and because of that, the reality is I can't leave Crayola out and then turn around and talk about brands you haven't heard of that are less quality. It just didn't feel right. So one of the things I want to talk about in this set, the design, the case. If I'm going to sit down and I want to color with my Crayola, I pretty much have to pull out every one of these cases because it's very impractical. The ideal situation would be to pull out, all of these and kind of lay them out. One of the things I was not crazy about is it's these cases. When a pencil starts getting low, it's going to start falling below this line. This is going to be an issue if you plan on keeping them in this case. So, trying to get to that pencil or even see the pencil when it drops below this line will be an issue. The other thing that I didn't even realize, I'd complained about doing a swatch sheet before that was really, really, really hard because it was the Harmonious pencils. They were tough to swatch because of their colors. These were tough because of the names or the organization or lack thereof. There are no numbers on these. I think this and Blick is the only sets I have that do not have, and the Lost Girl, but in their defense, Finding the Lost Girl is not only, they're not only labeled with numbers, they're not labeled with anything, but there's not 150 of them to organize. So this was a pain. But you have things, you do have the logo, your Crayola, you have green, blue, then you have other languages of the same color. This one has 3 languages. The backs are open so you can see whether they're centered or not. And for the most part, these pencils are centered. Every now and then I came across one that the wood traveled up the lead higher than I would have liked it to. But again, that's just, it's gonna be a feature in a lower grade pencil. Talking about the quality of the leads of the Crayola, they all sharpen really well. I was able to get really fine points, but I can honestly say I was surprised how crumbly they were. I had the tips break, and to the point where I had kind of stopped putting pressure, as much pressure as I would any of my other sets. The names of these, to kind of jump around, the names were tricky because you had names like almond, light almond, very light almond, deep almond, very deep almond. And that wasn't doing me any favors in the world of organization. Let's look at some of these colors. This is the first set that I've done that had to take up 2 in my book, 2 pages. Because there was no way I could get both of these because of the names, the way they were laid out. There was just absolutely no way to get these on one sheet. So this is my first 2-page spread. And I went through a good ton of trouble trying to set these swatch sheets up. And you know what the reality that hit me? I don't think anybody's gonna use these. I know I'm probably not gonna jump into these again. So at this point, I feel like I made this swatch sheet specifically to show y'all in this video, because in every video I pull out the family swatches, which is why I like to grab largest set of color pencils so you can see all the colors it offers. Some of the things when I'm looking at neons, with the 150 set, you get the full set of neons, but here's the trick when it comes to Crayola. They don't have a section that's telling you, by the way, these are all neons. You gotta kind of look at it in the right lighting and say, okay, I think this isn't just a bright color. I think this is a neon. And because of that, I ended up with like 3 or 4 neon oranges and like 3 neon pinks. I didn't really have a neon blue. I didn't really have a neon green. And the thing is, I think I do have them. I think this Arctic Lime, I think that's a neon, but because it didn't have that over the top brightness, it was able to fall right into the slot where I think it belongs. And there's the same thing with the blue. There is no silver and gold in this pack. I know it's in the 50 pack. So you would think the 150 pack would contain all of the colors, but in this set, there is no silver and gold. Not that I'm complaining, but I just thought that was worth noting. I don't think anybody out there, because I've had a lot of people write me and ask about these, how do they get a hold of these swatch sheets, these family swatches? And the truth is I do plan on getting them into your hands, hopefully sooner than later. And if I do charge, it'll be really, really cheap. And if I don't, I'll just give them to y'all. But this one, I don't think anybody is gonna swatch these, because the point of this, and I'll probably have to have a video specifically on using these, swatch sheets in general, but if I want to use an earth tone, I jump right to this section. If I'm looking for a certain brown, and now I know by looking at this, what's my dark brown going to be? What's my base brown going to be? And how am I going to highlight that? So I could go to a dark chocolate for my dark, a medium deep golden for the average, and then jump way up here to an almond for the highlights. But now how am I going to turn around and grab them? You know, there's no organization. You know, you could say, well, put them in alphabetical order. That's really not going to do me, you know, it's not going to speed my process up. The color palette, besides being very pretty, something I do want to tip my hat to Crayola for, I have had smaller sets, like 72 sets. I've had smaller sets that had more repeated colors than this 150 set has. Other than a couple of very similar colors here and there, I gotta be honest, they did a fantastic job of not giving you a lot of repeats. If we look at the blues, this is kind of where I'll always jump to. I try to find the light blue. Powder blue, which is almost like a light slate, which is why I have it there. That's as light as it gets, really. Out of all these colors, I was kind of blown away that they didn't have a light blue, like a you know, a really soft blue like you'd find in a set of like Prismacolors, for example, where they have these that are really light browns, like almost to the point that they're yellow or a cream color. And they have it in the yellow too. And they have it with your oranges. They have these really, really light colors. But when it gets to blue, they really don't have one. And I always jump to that color because I use it so much when using glue. Let me talk about the thing we all already know, the performance of these pencils, the attributes. When I first started coloring, I grabbed a picture. I created a picture that was loaded in details. I knew I was getting, I knew I was going to use my Crayola 150 set on this, and I really wanted to see how far I could push them. And I've got to say, as I was working on it, it made me smile. You know, I don't know if it's just me, but I just felt like pulling these pencils out the box, and there was a certain smell to it. There's a certain look, you know, in that bright green and yellow Crayola box that just, it brought me back to my youth, and I love that. They don't layer that fantastic. These colors don't exactly melt together like you might be used to with a higher end set. Pigment isn't as vivid as you want it to be, so you find yourself putting more, like filling in the layers with the same color. So when you go to add a second color on top of that, it's like the tooth of the paper's already been taken up by the bottom color. They do blend all right, but let me throw this out there now. As far as blenders go, I was trying multiple types. The way I see it, there are 3 types of blenders. Your aggressive blender, your soft blender, and then you have those few that are right in between. This is one of the absolute few sets that the in-between didn't work. The light blend, the soft blender, which a great example of that would be Caran, that worked when I was working with a lot, you know, more layers of these color pencils. And then the more aggressive, which could be like a Derwent or a Kalour, that worked depending on how many layers I had. But like one of my favorite in-betweens, Grizzeye has a blender that is a perfect between, and it wasn't working with this as much as I want. And that is to say that numerous blenders that I tried didn't work like I wanted them to. So I had to get really aggressive with one or really soft with one. Something I also found nice about these, they erase fairly well. In fact, these might be some of the easiest erasing color pencils that I own. There was a couple times I made mistakes and I was able to go back into them, and the color came right up. Even when swatching, I had to pull up some heavier laid down colors, and they came right up. That was impressive. But you know, the funny thing is, I think that probably is saying, you know, talking about the pigment in them as well, because the pigments, you know, you have to work at it. They don't stain the paper like some of your other color pencils do. So. You know, I had a lot of fun with them. I was really pushing them with this image, and I was really impressed with the result that I was able to get by using these with these wonderful blues and turquoise and the browns, the earth tones. This was they were a lot of fun, and as I'm using them, I'm thinking, how am I going to talk about a Crayola and somebody be interested in this video? And I was kind of struggling with it, which is why I feel like this video is just almost redundant in what we already know. But at the same exact time, I also feel like not talking about Crayola when we're naming all the color pencils we love just also seems like a travesty. So, I present to you Crayola. If you do not have a set within your color pencils, go out and get one. You'll remember how much fun they are.
Sugar Solito.